Hey guys, um, this is a spur of the moment thing. I did not know this was happening, but a couple of years ago, there was a kid in Orlando that died because um, there is this small park in Orlando. It's called Icon Park, and there are a few rides. We have the Orlando Eye, which is a giant Ferris wheel. You can get in there and you can see all of Orlando. And there is like a drop tower. There's like one of those giant like bungee cord swing things. There's another one that have the swings that swing out from the pole. And this kid was, I forgot how old he was. I want to say like 12, but he looked like an adult. Like this was a big kid, a very, very large kid. And he didn't fit. He kept not fitting in rides. And I guess the people that worked at this one ride felt sorry for him and they somehow manipulated the seat to where it locked when it shouldn't have, so that when it was a drop tower, so as it was going up, I guess his seat unlatched and he fell out of it and he died. So this is actually the trial. His parents are suing the manufacturer of the ride. And that's all I know because I didn't even realize this was happening. I was just flipping through YouTube and found it. And it just started. We're like maybe 15 minutes behind. So that's good because then we can fast forward if there's breaks or sideboards or stuff. And it's I guess that would be a civil trial because they're suing the manufacturer of a ride. And it was found to have been an accident. So I don't think there were criminal charges or anything like that happened. So let me share my screen.
Evidence.
Hey,
We
Nancy.
have now taken an oath to serve as jurors in this trial. Before we begin, I'm going to tell you about some of the rules of law that apply to this case and let you know what you can expect as the trial proceeds. It is my intention to give you most of the rules of law that apply to this case, but it might be that I do not know for sure all of the rules that apply.
I'm feeling much better.
I can anticipate most of the law and give it to you at the beginning of the trial so that you will better understand what to be looking for while the evidence is presented. If I later decide that different or additional law applies, I'll tell you. In any event, at the end of the evidence, I'll give you the final set of jury instructions on which you must base your verdict. At that time, you will each have a complete written set of the instructions, so you do not have to memorize what I'm about to tell you. In a few moments, the attorneys will each have a chance to make what are called opening statements. In an opening statement, an attorney is allowed to give you his or her views about what the evidence will be in the trial and what you are likely to see and hear in the testimony. After the attorney's opening statements, the plaintiffs will bring their witnesses and evidence to you. Evidence is the information that the law allows you to see or hear in deciding this case. Evidence includes the testimony of the witnesses, documents, and anything else that I instruct you to consider. A witness is a person who takes an oath to tell the truth and then answers attorney's questions for the jury. The answering of attorney's questions by the witness is called giving testimony. Testimony means statements that are made when someone has sworn an oath to tell the truth. The plaintiff's lawyer will be asking the witness the questions.
Orlando.
Certain documents or other evidence may also be shown to you during direct examination after the plaintiff's witnesses have testified. The defendant would normally have the opportunity to do cross-examination and then present their own testimonies. They have elected not to participate in this trial, so that part of the trial will not occur. It is important to you, it is important that you remember the testimony comes from the witnesses. The attorneys do not themselves give testimony, and they are not themselves witnesses. When we take a break, please remember you have the obligation not to discuss this case with each other or with anyone else. After all of the evidence has...
Yeah, you can tell it's Florida by how slow she's speaking. The reason why I wanted to do it was because I didn't know. All I knew was that they had ruled it an accident. And when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, because I hadn't heard anything else about it in the news. Right before this happened, I had gone to Universal Studios and I couldn't get on one of the rides because it wouldn't latch good enough. And my stepdaughter was mad. She was like, what? Because they tried the like test seat on me and I didn't fit in the test seat. And my stepdaughter said, well, why didn't you just go get in the seat? Why'd you try the test seat? And then this happened like 2 or 3 days later. And I said, Casey, that's why I tried the test seats. That right there, that is why. Because that's why they have them. And that's why there are rules about weight and how it latches so people don't die.
Has been presented to you. I'll instruct you on the final law that you must follow.
Hey, Judy.
Again, you will each have a set of those final jury instructions in writing to apply to this case.
I had no idea this was
attorneys will then have
happening.
the opportunity to make their final presentations to you, which are called closing arguments.
That's why my camera's off. I'm still in my pajamas.
You will then go to the jury room and discuss and decide the questions I have put on your verdict form. The discussions you have and the decisions you make at that time are called your jury deliberations. Your jury deliberations are absolutely private, and neither I nor anyone else will be in the jury room with you while you conduct those deliberations. When you've finished answering the questions on the verdict form, simply advise the court deputy. We'll all return to the courtroom where your verdict will be read. When that is complete, you will be released from your assignment as a juror. Please remember to keep an open mind and pay close attention to the testimony and other evidence as it comes into the trial, and avoid forming any final opinions or telling anyone else your views on the case until you have heard all of the evidence and begun your deliberations. The time and place for coming to your final opinions and speaking about them with your fellow jurors is during deliberations in the jury room after all of the evidence has been presented, closing arguments have been made, and I have instructed you on the applicable law. It is the things you hear and see in this courtroom that matter in this trial. You cannot do any independent research or investigation into the facts of this case. This is as you are aware, a high-profile case. In the event this case goes to tomorrow, you certainly cannot watch any news accounts or any postings on any.
Well, not that high profile, because it quit like after it was ruled an accident. The news stopped up here where I am. And well, I mean, we don't watch like the news, the mainstream news, because we just don't. But as far as getting stuff on YouTube, I mean, like obviously we get the Orlando news because on YouTube it shows up in my feed all the time. I don't know if because that's like, I mean, I live out in the middle of nowhere. So, like Orlando news, probably that's why I see it on YouTube rather than my local news. But after all the news reports of the accident being, it being rolled an accident, I quit seeing stuff about it. So that's why I was just like, after RA went to lunch, I was just like scrolling through YouTube, and this had just started, and I was like, oh my God, I have to go stream this now.
Internet device or location or platform regarding the occurrences for today or the opinions that may be floating out there. So I'm going to instruct you to turn off any news that may be coming on about this case in the event this case does in fact go into tomorrow. Remember not to talk with any of the attorneys or parties or witnesses or anyone else about this case. Only you get to deliberate and answer the verdict questions at the end of the case. I will not intrude into your deliberations at all, and I am required to remain neutral. So please do not assume that I prefer one decision over another, and please do not try to guess what my opinion is about any part of the case. Discussing and deciding the facts is your job alone. You should each have a notepad to take notes. You are welcome to take as many or as few notes as you would like. Your notes are for your use only. You may take them with you to the jury room when you begin your deliberations. At all other times, they should remain in your seat, and the court deputy will take possession of your notes. I am going to review the claims in this case. It is admitted that the defendant, Funtime, was negligent in failing to manufacture, design, build, and supervise the freefall drop tower ride at Icon Park in Orlando, Florida, which caused the death of Tyre Sampson. Plaintiffs Nakia Dodd and Yarnell Sampson suffered damages as a result of losing their son. They must prove their claims by the greater weight of the evidence. I will now define some of the terms you'll use in deciding this case. Greater weight of the evidence means the more persuasive and convincing force and effect of the entire evidence in the case. You should award Nakia Dodd and Yarnell Sampson an amount of money that the greater weight of the evidence shows will fairly and adequately compensate them for their damages, including any damages that the estate and the survivors are reasonably certain to incur or experience in the future.
I think he was 12.
In determining the damages recoverable on behalf of Tyre Sampson's estate, you shall consider the following elements: medical or funeral expenses due to Tyre Sampson's injury or death, which were paid by or on behalf of Tyre Sampson. The mental pain and suffering.
I'm doing it again. I'm typing in chat like I can't speak into a microphone. I think he was 12. I could be wrong. Like I said, this happened over 2 years ago. To me, it seems like it was yesterday because, like I said, 2 days before this happened, 2 or 3 days before this happened, I was at Universal and couldn't fit in a ride. And my stepdaughter was mad at me for trying the test seat. Of course, that's our relationship is a whole nother story. But he was a really big kid, and I'm talking overweight, yes, but tall. Like, this did not look like a 12-year-old kid. He did not look 12. He looked like an adult. He did not look like, I'm shocked. I'm pretty sure he was 12. I'll look it up. If they don't say it soon, I'll just go ahead and look it up.
Of Nakia Dodd and Yarnell Sampson as a result of the injury and death of their son, Tyre Sampson. In determining the duration of mental pain and suffering, you may consider the life expectancies of Nakia Dodd and Yarnell Sampson together with the other evidence in the case. In determining the duration of any future loss sustained by
It's 14.
Nakia Dodd and Yarnell Sampson by reason of the death of Tyre Sampson, you may consider the joint life expectancy of Nakia Dodd, Yarnell Sampson, and Tyre Sampson. The joint life expectancy is that period of time when both the decedent and the survivors would have remained alive. The mortality tables to be received in evidence may be considered together with the other evidence in the case in determining how long each may have been expected to live. In deciding this case, it is your duty as jurors to decide the issues and only those issues that I submit for your determination, and to answer certain questions I ask you to answer on a special form called a verdict form. You must come to an agreement about what your answers will be. Your agreed upon answers to my questions are called your jury verdict. The evidence in this case consists of the sworn testimony of the witnesses, all exhibits received in evidence, and all facts that were admitted or agreed to by the parties. In reaching your verdict, you must think about and weigh the testimony and any documents, photographs, or other material that has been received in evidence. You may also consider any facts that were admitted or agreed to by the lawyers. Your job is to determine what the facts are. You may use reason and common sense to reach conclusions. You may draw reasonable inferences from the evidence, but you should not guess about things that were not covered here, and you must always apply the law as I explain it to you. Let me speak briefly about witnesses. In evaluating the believability of any witness and the weight you will give the testimony of any witness, you may properly consider the demeanor of the witness while testifying, the frankness or lack of frankness of the witness, the intelligence of the witness, any interest the witness may have in the outcome of the case, the means and opportunity the witness had to know the facts about which the witness testified, the ability of the witness to remember the matters about which the witness testified, and the reasonableness of the testimony of the witness considered in the light of all of the evidence in the case and in the light of your own experience and common sense.
I wonder why they're just suing the manufacturer of the ride and not the park itself, because what it said, everything that I read or saw on the news was that they had seen, he'd been denied getting on rides all day because he was too big. I mean, there's not that many rides there, but it's a small park. We're not talking like a huge theme park like Disney or Busch Gardens or anything like that. It's a little bitty, like, with 4 or 5 rides. So I guess they felt sorry for him on that one. And the way, like, in those type of rides, there's some type of a indication on the seat that lets you know when it's in the safe position. But on those seats, there was a way to rig them where that would show up. Like, it has something to do with the computer system in the car, in the seat part. And if it doesn't turn like a color or whatever the indication is, then the ride won't start. But with the seats on that ride, there was like a back door. There was a way to fix it where it would change to indicate that it was right, and the ride would go. So that's on the manufacturer. So I get why they're suing the manufacturer, but why aren't they suing the park? I didn't know that. Oh, cool. I need to know more about that later. I don't want to get too far behind though, in case I don't want this to like delete when we're right in the middle of watching it. I need to quit gabbing.
That is the law you must follow in deciding this case. Attorneys for plaintiff will now present their final, or their opening statement. Who's doing the opening statement for the plaintiff? All right, counsel, you may proceed when you're ready, and feel free to swivel the stand. All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
How do I speed it up? Oh, here.
Good afternoon. Tyre Sampson. We've been talking about him all morning. I wanted to introduce you.
Is that too fast?
This is Tyre. He remains 14 years young. We're going to talk about why and how this happened. At the end of the day, this is why we are all here. We are here for Tyre. His parents are here, his siblings, and you, the Tyre Sampson jury, are here to bring justice to the injustice that happened to this family. On March 24, 2022, Tyre was taken from us in the most violent manner imaginable. He was here visiting Orlando for spring break. He was a great kid, a great athlete, a great person in school, had amazing grades, and he was being rewarded. Come to Orlando, go on amusement park ride. That's what any 14-year-old boy wants to do. And that's what he was doing on this day. He went onto the free fall drop tower. And we know what happened. Funtime. This is the foreign manufacturer who designed, built, tested, constructed the free fall drop tower in Icon Park. This is a huge corporation. They have rides everywhere. You heard in Quadir all of the states throughout the United States where they have rides. When you look at the international presence, Germany, Canada, Austria, France, Sweden, Denmark, Chile, Spain, Belgium, Norway, Greece, the list goes on and on and on. This is not a small mom and pop company. This company has rides that they have built and constructed and tested everywhere. You look throughout the United States, it covers the United States coast to coast. This isn't something that just happened here in Orlando. They have rides everywhere. And in fact, we know here in Orlando, they have 3 rides at the same park, at Icon Park. The free fall drop tower, the slingshot, and the Starflyer, all manufactured by Funtime. When you look at the rides throughout the United States, name your favorite theme park, it's gonna be on the list. Six Flags, Dollywood, Magical Midway, Carowinds, Cedar Point, Kings Hill, Old Town. They have rides at every one of those parks that are still operating. And they have a variety of different type of rides. It's not just the drop tower. They have the slingshot, they have the rocket, the bell, the tornado, the skydiver. At the end of this case, you're going to be presented evidence. It's in a box back there. And part of that evidence is the entire website from Funtime. We printed every page of that website so you can go through and look at all these different rides that they manufacture. At all of these different rides, again, throughout the entire United States, there's a list in that piece of evidence that goes through every one of their rides, where it is operating, when it first came, and what the name of that ride is. Again, any ride that you can think of, it's going to be on this list. That's how large of a corporation this is. That was the leader in amusement park thrill rides throughout the world. They are supposed to know what they're doing when you have this many rides. The list goes on and on and on. There's too many for me to even put on the screen. And when you look at their website, they advertise. They make sure everybody knows they are the biggest and largest corporation. They talk about the slingshot being 160 kilometers per hour, 150 meters high.
I don't
The Skyfall,
ever want to ride
80
that.
meters high. The rocket, this is 100 meters in diameter, and it's a rocket, and it shoots off in a gondola setting. This is their own website. This is what they are talking about. We've all heard the saying. With great power comes great responsibility. Comes grave responsibility. This corporation had all the power. When you build and design and test and construct these many rides throughout the world, that is an enormous amount of power. And when you take on that power, you have the responsibility. You have the responsibility to every person that goes on your rides, to every parent, to every citizen, to juries just like you. We know what Funtime did with that power, or more importantly, what they didn't do. The free fall drop tower.
That one I wanted to ride.
Jury selection, you're familiar with this ride. You're unfortunately familiar with this tragic case.
That was the only one. That and
this ride took
the
years
Ferris
to
wheel.
build. It stood 430 feet tall. And the way that this ride operated is there was a big tower in the middle, and then there was a number of seats, 30 seats that went in a circle. And those seats, you get onto the ride, you pull down a harness, and that ride slowly starts crawling up. 100 feet, 200 feet, 300 feet, all the way until it gets to the top at 430 feet. When it gets to the top, the ride starts rotating very slowly, 180 degrees. So as you're in that ride, you can see the view of all of downtown Orlando. And then that ride tilts you forward.
Oh, I didn't know it did that.
30 degrees.
Never mind. I don't want to ride that one either.
All you see is straight down 430 feet. And it doesn't drop immediately. It waits. And you linger. And you're sitting there staring down until the ride starts falling at over 4 Gs. That is more force than an astronaut feels when the rocket takes off to space. At over 75 miles an hour, the ride starts dropping and plummeting to the ground. You know the one thing this ride didn't have? A seatbelt. They built the largest and tallest drop tower in the world. It's on their own advertisements. In the world, not in Orlando, not on iDrive, not in Florida, not in the United States, in the world. They built the highest tower, the most dangerous tower. They didn't install a $10 seatbelt. They didn't install a $10 seatbelt for the highest and most dangerous ride in the world. This is what the seats look like before the ride was demolished. They have the harness that comes over your shoulder, no seatbelt.
They demolished
This seatbelt would have connected by the end of the harness to the seat. This would have connected right there between your legs. None of us would be here today. Tyre would be with us. He would never have been able to fall out of that ride. He never would have been able to ride it because the seatbelt wouldn't have fit. This is a video taken by the Department of Agriculture after this incident, and this shows you how the ride operates. As you can see, Bobby, was it playing?
I didn't know they demolished it.
Okay. You clipped it, or just going down? All right, so the way that this video is, this is after the tragedy. The Florida Department of Agriculture was hired to investigate this tragedy. And so as I told you, the ride goes up into the air, and then you can see it pauses in the air, and then you're going to see it drop. The seats were numbered. So they were numbered seats 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to seat 30. You're going to hear why that's important, because Tyre was directed and told to sit on seat 1. Not seat 3, not seat 15 or seat 28. He was told you need to sit on seat 1. And it's because seats 1 and 2 were manipulated. Seats 1 and 2 had a different type of sensor for, quote, larger people. So if you were a larger person, you had to sit in seats 1 or 2 because they manipulated those seats so that larger people could actually fit in it. We know what happened. March 24th, 2022. I'm going to have to show you some very difficult evidence. And I don't want to do this to Nakia and anyone else. We're going to ask that they step out of the room while we review this.
Judy, did you send the second part of that chat? Because it didn't come through again.
I do not want the
Okay.
evidence to be played, recorded, or displayed on the camera today.
There's cell phone video. What happened? I wish we didn't have to show this to you. We're going to play this for you only twice today. Once in opening and once in closing. We're not going to belabor this. It's something that we don't want to have to share.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's going to be difficult. we want to be there.
That's
sensitive
good.
to all of you and your emotions and your feelings. So we're gonna play the video.
Because I love rides. And every time I get on one, I'm like, millions of people ride these things and they never die. But there's a little voice in the back of my head that's saying, I am taking my life in my own hands when I get on these things. I'm getting better about the anxiety. Like last time when we went to the water park for our anniversary, literally for the first time, I had anxiety, but without feeling like I was gonna die. Like I was scared, but I wasn't sick. Like I didn't feel like I was gonna throw up. And then, are you gonna give us sound back?
We're gonna have the website.
Thank you.
When you go and deliberate, you can look at all of those photographs. Here's another one of their rides. It has that harness. Guess what else it has? It has the seatbelt. Another Funtime ride. It has the shoulder harness. It has a seatbelt. Another ride. Seatbelt, seatbelt. Seatbelts on every seat. The pictures and the list go on and on. We talked about this in jury selection. Those of you who ride thrill rides, there are seatbelts on those rides. Every one of these rides on their website. But yet when they choose to build the largest, tallest, most dangerous, no seatbelt. And in their own manual, they say we don't need a seatbelt because the restraint system is so top of the line, it's so great. Well, is it? That leads us to their second failure, that this restraint mechanism was not top of the line. This harness was not, because they manipulated it. The way these seats work is you pull down this harness over your head. And as you pull it down over your head, it starts getting closer and closer to your body. And then there's a light off to the side that once it is in a place that the engineers have determined is safe enough, the light goes off. And that's when you know that the restraint is in place, that you cannot get out of the ride. For seats 1 and 2, they went in and changed that safety sensor so that when you're pulling down that ride, it stops sooner than it should have. It stops before the engineers and all of the mathematics say is appropriate. Why would Funtime even manufacture a ride that allows that to be adjusted? If you know what the correct mathematical formula is that's going to keep a person in a ride, why would you ever allow that to be adjusted? And it was adjusted. They trained their employees to say, seats 1 and 2 are for larger guests. We want to get more traffic in the door. We want to have as much money as possible. Profits.
And that makes you think they're safer too.
Told them, sit them here. That's why Tyre sat in seat
If
1.
the attendant tells you that,
After this, again, the Florida Department of Agriculture commissioned an independent report. It wasn't our firms. We're all here together today. Not one of our attorneys paid this engineering firm. Funtime didn't pay them. The Florida government, the Florida Department of Agriculture. And they found that the reason that he fell out of this ride to his death is because this seat was manipulated. This picture says it all. Every other seat had a gap of 3.3 inches between the bottom of the harness to the seat. Tyre's seat had over 7 inches, over double what every other seat had. That's how he fell out of the ride. If there was a seatbelt right in that opening, none of us would be here today. This is a side view. As you can see, the seat is not far down enough. This is how he slipped and fell out of the ride. This is how this manufacturer who operates rides all over the United States and the world, this is how they put the safety sensor. This is it. Anybody with a screwdriver can change that. How is that safe? Anybody with a screwdriver can manipulate it to the extent that somebody can fall out of the ride. That is not properly designing or manufacturing or constructing the most dangerous.
oh, it came through. It came through right after I said that.
Found a conclusion that Funtime.
Sorry.
Funtime chose not to appear here in the courtroom today. Unlike all of you who took your jury summons and fulfilled your obligations, like we had that one juror in the morning, they threw it in the trash. They didn't want to look at Nakia and look at Yarnell and explain why there was no seatbelt. They didn't want to look at you, our 7th Tyre Sampson jury, and explain why there was no seatbelt. They came to our inspections. We inspected this ride twice over a year apart, and the attorneys were there, the engineers. We have sign-in sheets. They came to both of those inspections, but not the courtroom today. You've heard the judge already give you this instruction twice. You're going to hear it again. It is admitted they are at fault. They are liable. They are negligent for negligently manufacturing, designing, building, constructing, and supervising this ride. There's only two questions that are going to be asked at the end of this case. The pain and the suffering for Nakia in the past and in the future, and the pain and the suffering and the mental anguish for Yarnell in the past and in the future. How do we determine that?
See how big he was for 14? And he was tall.
You're going to hear from his older brother. You're going to hear all about Tyrene. We have a stack, probably 4 or 5 inches thick of photographs for you that you'll see in the jury room of the family growing up, what Tyrene did.
Oh, wow.
You're going to hear about him as a baby, how he was that baby that just had an absolutely amazing, bubbly personality. As he grew up and was becoming a man, he was an exceptional human being. He was one of a kind. We're going to hear a lot about his football, which was his huge interest, his joy, his pride. But Tyre wasn't just a football player. He was an artist. This is a 14-year-old who is bigger than all of his teachers. And he's in the room drawing and going to science fairs and conducting science experiments, having presentations on Paraguay and history, getting all straight A's and honor roll. And as he got older, he was combining all of his interests. He loved robotics and building and the science and the technology and the mechanics. And yes, he was a superb athlete. You know what? When you ask his parents what his favorite part of being an athlete was the camaraderie. Was being able to have that connection with his friends, was being able to talk to those younger students. He was the biggest kid on there, but he was the most gentle person you will ever meet. You're going to hear about his football career, about his travel teams that he went on, about what his future looked like that Funtime took away from these two parents. And most importantly was his family. His parents, his older brother, his little sister. That's who Tyre Sampson was. We talked about the power that Funtime had and what they failed to do. You as the Tyre Sampson jury, you are going to have the power at the end of the presentation today to render a just verdict for this family. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Please call your first witness.
Your Honor, we call Jamez Knighton.
So Funtime is not there. Why didn't they just settle out of court? And why are they not suing Icon Park too? They manipulated the seats. That's weird.
Sir, in order for everybody to hear you, you're going to have to be fairly close to that microphone, and the chair swivels but doesn't move. So you're going to have to be the one to move.
Good afternoon, Jamez. Can you introduce yourself to the jury?
I'm Jamez Knighton, Tyree's older brother.
Tell us a little bit about that. What was the age gap between you and Tyre?
It was about 12 years. I was in middle school.
And let's learn a little bit about you. So what do you do for a living?
I'm a Ferguson police officer in St. Louis, Missouri.
How long have you been a police officer?
Been there for 7 years now. It'll be 7 years in January.
And what do you do as a police officer in Ferguson?
Currently, I'm a FTO, so I train all of the new officers I'm on. Show them how streets work.
Can you tell the jury a little bit about your brother? What was his personality like?
He was a free spirit. Sometimes the only thing that really seemed to matter to him was having fun and enjoying his time as a kid. No matter how bad things got, he was always that breath of fresh air.
Now, with this age gap between the two of you, can you describe your relationship with your brother?
It was a balance. It was an age gap. It was more of a parent, a guidance role. Sometimes I couldn't just be a friend, brother. I had to show him, lead by example. But it was a balance.
What are some things you all would like to do together?
The thing we did the most together was play video games, Madden, and stuff like that. Sports. When he was younger, he used to try to run all my football.
We saw your little sister in the room earlier. I know she had stepped out of the courtroom. Can you tell us a little bit about her relationship with Tyre?
They were really close. And Tyree was a big brother to her. I was the oldest, so I always wanted the older brother. I was blessed with a younger brother that was bigger than me. And he was the big brother that I always wanted to her.
What do you mean about that? What kind of big brother was he?
Just close, they played together. You can tell they just had a bond where they could just talk about anything with each other.
What type of things would you play with when you were out?
Thing that comes to mind is tag. We all used to kind of just randomly play tag. Just fill out the house and run around.
This is going to be like one long victim impact statement. This trial.
I want to talk about Tyree's relationship with your mom. So we know that Tyre was into football. Can you tell the jury what kind of a football mom was Cynthia?
She was very supportive. Sometimes it was times where he maybe having a dinner or something coming up, but she wouldn't quite know how he was gonna make it there, but she always found a way to do it. He never missed anything when it came to sports. And my mom made sure of that, even if it was hard.
Was she one of those loud football moms or kind of the quieter in the corner moms?
This was loud football.
What do you mean by that, by the loud football
You
mom?
knew exactly where she was.
All right, and did your brother have a nickname? What kind of cheers would your mom do for your brother?
Called him Big Tick. It was almost apparent why. Even as a kid, he was bigger than the other little kids. Yeah. It was just apparent that he was born to play football.
What about some other traits that your mom passed on to your brother? Was he did he have manners? And tell us a little bit about that.
My mom instilled yes sir, no sir into it. We addressed anybody older than us or anybody at all. It's yes sir, no sir. And he really adopted that from my mom.
Did your mom like to cook Tyre any good particular meals?
Yeah, his favorite meal was pork chops and fried beans, chicken, rice.
If money was ever tight around the house, what would your mom do? Would she try to make do with whatever you had to always make sure you children had what you needed?
I honestly don't know. Sometimes, my mom, like I said, she just found a way, and that was even when I was a kid. It was we didn't have a perfect life, but it wasn't the worst either. And there was times that we didn't have certain things, but she always found a way. And I never questioned how. I was just thankful that she did.
Would your mom go without that she could provide for you and your two siblings?
That was more times than I probably even know.
We're now here almost 3 years since this tragedy. Can you tell the jury how your mom's doing these days?
She's being strong. She spends a lot of time with family. We have a lot of family time with our grandmother and cousins and stuff like that. But it's always the silence that's the hardest. At the end of the day, when nobody's around and it's just yourself and your thoughts, that's when, that's the time that's hardest, and that's when I see my mom working through the most.
Your mom recently moved to be closer to you and your family, right?
Mhm.
Can you tell the jury when she moved houses, does Tyre still have a room at her house?
Yes, he has a room that, a normal bedroom with the mattress and dresser and everything in there, but in the basement there's like a memorial, and it has cardboard cutouts and all the things that he used to play with in his room, his football jerseys, cleats, video game controllers, basically anything that he spent a lot of time doing or using. You can walk in there and see it, kind of feel it in it.
I know that you have recently expanded your family. How many children do you now have?
I have 3 children, 2 girls and 1 newborn boy.
All right, when was your son born?
October 8th this year.
What is your son's name?
Major, his middle name is Tyre.
And is that obviously for your brother? What are some things that you're looking forward to do with your son that you wish you could have done?
My son, he feels like a second chance, because there was a lot of time that I feel like I missed with my brother, and a lot of time that I feel like I'll never be able to share with him because of how young he was when all this happened. So with my son, I just look forward to doing all those things that I didn't get to do.
Chaz, what do you miss most about Tyre?
I missed just the random communication between us. It was just random. Hey, can you run me to the store? Hey, can you teach me how to drive? Teach me how to drive your car. he cut my hair. I just miss him reaching out to me. It almost feels like I was robbed of that, of being a big brother.
Thank you, Terrence. I have no further questions.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. I'm going to call your second witness. Thank you.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Please, the court.
You may be seated. Go ahead and get comfortable whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Gentlemen of the jury. I'm Attorney Ben Crawford of this great team of lawyers that represent the parents of Tyre Sampson and this terrible loss for any parent. But we're going to have questions to his father about his only son, his only child. Could you introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
My name is Tyre Sampson. I am Tyre Sampson father.
Where do you currently reside, Mr. Sampson?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Can you briefly describe your occupation and daily life before this incident?
I have my own parking lot security company, and I'm a certified chef. I'm on food truck.
How would you describe your relationship with your son Tyre, Mr. Sampson?
First, it started off when he got stuck in the delivery room. First of all, he was that big, he got stuck. We had to go get him. Right then and there, he was going to be something amazing. But just the conversation, the demeanor, the respectfulness. Man, he loved to eat. My son loved to eat. Like we toss places up like we want to go eat and stuff like that. And just everything. Like I can't really pinpoint one thing, but he's just amazing at all the things. Like he's just an amazing young man. Or his energy, the hugs, the love, and attention.
If you tell members of the jury, Mr. Sampson, how often would you spend time with Tyre?
Well, I get Tyre every other week, consider my schedule. So he's come over there for the weekend, stuff like that. All the spring breaks, any breaks he normally takes. This was the only break that he didn't spend with me this year. He came here for reward. And I kind of wish he did spend spring break with me because he'd still be alive. But, you know, he was a kid. He wanted to have fun. So what do you tell a kid that's so innocent and want to have fun? His spirit's so good. You don't want that. You want him to have
So maybe this isn't happening in Orlando. Orlando News is covering it though.
How about a trip to Orlando? Could you tell the members of the jury, Mr. Sampson, what kinds of activities did you and Tyre enjoy together?
Well, our first activity we ever done was the Gateway Classic. We have Gateway Classics, 2 HBCU schools. It's pretty much they come to St. Louis from different places to play games. So that was our first game we ever went to. From that, we went to the Billiken games, Cardinals. I can tell you a story. I almost lost him at the Cardinals game. Thank God my cousin was there because he realized that was my son. He brought it back to me. But that was an experience almost, it was nerve-wracking. But the Cardinal games, the Rams games, going to the park, playing basketball.
Yeah, that's what
Man,
you want
I
to
didn't play
tell
video games.
the
My son
jury.
liked to play video
Almost
games. I used
lost
to watch him
him.
play video games and stuff like that.
Wandered
But just
off.
the
I
small
didn't
things, just the
notice.
conversations, you know, sitting down, talking how life is, and the respectfulness he gave me, and man,
Mr. Sampson, could you tell the members of the jury about Tyre's personality?
he had an affectionate personality. It's not like you was attracted to him, like he was a magnet. Like his conversations, energy, respectfulness, how he treated people. He's just a special young man. I mean, I can't really. I'm just gonna leave it like this. You know, imagine your child is your best friend, and you have all these conversations. I don't want to discuss all the conversations, but we have all these conversations about life. And everything he talked about, he wanted to be great. Everything from school to sports to being a good son to his parents. To be honest with you, my son was the perfect thing that ever happened to me. That's my only child. And I don't know. I don't know. So I really don't.
Thank you, Mr. Sampson, on that very emotional. Could you tell the members of the jury what were some of his special achievements or the proud moments you remember from him in school or in sports in general?
Well, the first time he played football, he played for Berkeley. I remember that all the parents was complaining about he was too big on the field. And he was like, he should be playing, he should be playing. He ain't. At the time, I think he was like 10 years old. So he was like, he's not 10 years old. He was trying to say he was 12. But he always been a big kid. But he was a gentle giant. Like he was a kid here coming here right now to speak to everybody. And he would address you, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Like he wouldn't just say, hey, George, how you doing? And I don't know, I'm just making an example. He would always give you yes, sir, and yes, ma'am answers. And
How about his schoolwork, his grades?
he was an honor roll student, 4.0, honor roll student. Everywhere he went, he excelled in school. Outside school, he excelled or as being a people person. Man, my son was special. He was special.
Mr. Sampson, did Tyre have specific goals or aspirations for his future that he talked to you about?
Yes. I remember he had a big conversation. He wanted to be like his brother. He wanted to be a police officer. And I remember I had a conversation that's your brother's life. What about your life? And he came up with a couple ideas. I think he was going to be either law enforcement or firefighter because he always wanted to help. But when you're 6'5" and 365, you kind of get pushed towards sports a little bit. But I never forced him to that, but he gravitated towards it. But my only thing I asked him, if you play sports, you can't quit. If you don't do it, you got to be good at it and buy your mama a house. That's my only obligations.
All right. I want to shift gears now, Mr. Sampson, to very tough part of the questions. When did you first learn about what happened to Tyre when he was in Orlando at Icon Park?
I was at work, first of all. Second of all, I found out at the time my significant other, when I came home, she explained it to me. I worked the graveyard shift, so I worked from 12 to 5 in the morning. So when I get off, normally I clean up, get my shift together, get all my crew together, and then I relieve them. I normally get home by 5:30, 6 o'clock because I stayed right around the corner from my job, actually. So when I got home, all the lights was on in the house. That was kind of like weird. 5:30 in the morning, all the lights on, what's going on? But I didn't think nothing of it at the time because I really didn't know. When I walked in the house, somebody asked me, can I sit down for a minute? I said, what? Well, you wouldn't sit down. And I guess you knew right then, I didn't know. And she said, I want to show you something. What you want to show me? She tried to show me the video on my cell phone. And I turned my head and this. And I'm like,
That's how they told him?
And then she knew I didn't know. I really didn't know.
Oh my God.
And to the day, I still can't see the video. And she explained to me that what happened to Tyre, and at that point it went viral, I just wish I was there. That's my job as a man. That's what we signed up for as a father, protect our kids and be a father. And that's all I want to do with my child.
Mr. Sampson, how has Tyre's death affected you and your family?
I agree, Judy.
Well, I'm just gonna say like this. My family stood up because of this.
They could have settled out of court,
I miss my
though.
family in the shoe.
They might have been on there and then settled.
Yeah, I think the same. Yeah, same, man. Imagine your mini-me. Imagine your son that's just like you. And he got the best of both worlds. Both parents is good to him. And he, he had the world to offer. The world. She had a chance to realize how great he was. And I just felt like that he had reached his full potential because his potential was unlimited. I didn't want to see you be at the top. Lord, that's not anything but doubt. What do we do? I lost weight. I lost 30 pounds of weight, man. What I'm gonna do? I gotta see a mental psychiatrist rest of my life. And then for them not to be here just to give me my closure, I felt robbed.
You talked about some of the ways and threats you had problems
Sleeping, eating, and I can't taste food. I lost all these fake teeth, right? I lost all my teeth. You know why I lost my teeth? From dehydration.
I want to ask, what effect has it had on your mental and emotional?
I can't sleep. Food don't taste the same then. That's my only child. What I'm supposed to do? I ain't got nobody else I can go lean on. What death will do sometimes to a family, it can split families up because everybody grieves it. You know, you will have some situations that people point fingers. You have situations that it affected my family to the point that it split my family up almost to the point.
I want to ask you this, just as a matter of evidence in the record. How was the oldest person in your family? How old did they live to be?
My great grandmother was 98 years old. My oldest uncle was 89.
In March of the 3 years, and I know this is a common situation, but every day of your life, have you thought about your son?
I'm thinking about my son now. No, no. I don't know. I don't know what to say, man. I don't know. This is my first trial of my life. I've never been around no jury, no judges, never in my life. I've never been in trouble. Whole format of situation. I talk to people I don't even know. I don't ask y'all to make a judgment for me. I should have been there protected. I failed.
He couldn't have done anything
Part of your mental anguish, you're not being.
except tell him not to
I
ride.
know how difficult this is. His birthday, August 17th, it's been 2 minutes since the tragedy. How did you feel when his birthday is coming around now?
You know how I feel. I'm just gonna say, a few days you want to get out of bed. It's today I want to get out of bed. This is the biggest day of my life. I couldn't sleep. I don't even want to eat. I just want justice for my baby. He deserved it. He deserved to have something to remember him. He did everything I could ask him to do as a father. He done it. And I'm quite sure his mom would say the same thing. My son was an angel, a God-sent angel to me. He changed my life. I was a late bloomer. I had my son when I was 30 years old. I'm 47 years old right now. What do I do now? I don't get a chance to see them. I ain't gonna have a chance to have a birthday.
Let me ask you this. In his birthday, are there things that you do with the family and community to remember his birthday?
Yes, first of all, I got a shop called Tyre Sampson, called Tyre Treats. It's to honor my son because my son used to be playing and running around in Madison, Illinois. My son must stay in Missouri, I stay in Illinois. My son used to come, everybody know my son because that's how he was from the adults to the kids, because everybody that came across him, he touched some kind of way. Either he was trying to help an older person take the groceries in the car or something like that. But to answer your question, Ben, I do what you call a balloon release every year for my son since he passed away. What we do is try to focus on the community to less popular kids, and we don't want no kid to go to sleep home. So we give out free food, we have free games, and I try to make it as fun as possible for the kids because that's what Tyre would want. To be honest with you, he was a big kid.
Final 2 questions, Mr. Sampson. You've come to Florida a lot since this tragedy to try to have legislation passed. Why was the Tyre Sampson legislation important to you? Can you tell members of the jury?
To be honest with you, when I first heard the situation on the news, it just ain't feel right. If you're a parent, you know that gut feeling. Like something ain't right with your child. You know what I'm saying? You just can't pinpoint at the time. I couldn't pinpoint. I just felt like something wasn't right.
Something legislation.
So from there, I wanted to say the real reason, the inspiration was Shay Johnson. Somebody was faking like she was our cousin. It was to me and the kid died. She was no relations at all. But what that did, it lit a spark plug in me. If a stranger could do this, and I'm sitting up here crying, just let myself go to waste, what can I do to try to help? And when I didn't know whether to start or go or even try to even get around to this. But when I started getting into it, people was laughing at me. It was like, they're not gonna take it serious. You from St. Louis, you from Fort, probably Street in the city. You know, you wasted your time, Mr. Sampson. That's what they kept telling me. You wasted your time. And then from there, I just can't quit. I'm like, no, I'm not wasting my time. I'm gonna keep pushing. And look at where y'all now with the Most High blessings. He moved doors for me. He put people in places and things in my life to make these things happen. So I'm not taking credit for something that he used me for. This is for Tyre. Tyre deserved that. My son, he deserved explanation, and he deserved the true honesty from us. Y'all do the right thing. You know what to do. You do the right thing.
Mr. Sampson, how proud were you when they passed Tyre Sampson legislation and signed it to?
We still got work to do, man. I want a nationwide. I ain't stopping here. It's just a start to the beginning.
Why is it so important?
This happened in March of 2022.
Should no parent bury their child. It's unnatural. It's not in the Bible. It's ungodly. To bury your child is something that I lost something when I lost my child. Part of me is gone. I'll never get it back.
And final question, Mr. Sampson. What is your favorite memory with your son, Tyre Sampson?
I got two memories. My first favorite memory, me and when the kid died, went to his first football game together at the Grand Lake HBUC at the game. We went to his first game together. My second favorite moment is when he picked me up off the ground when he hugged me. I never been picked up off my feet by somebody. Never mind. But anyway, he was that strong. He picked me up off my feet and hugged me and told me that he loved me. And he almost choked me to death because he's that strong. And I was begging him, put me down. And when he put me down, it was all love. But no, I don't have one particular moment. I can say that when I took him to the park and let him drive my car, that was a good moment. The first time he volunteered for the homeless, that was a good moment. The first time he volunteered for the Junior Flyers to pass out food for the Youth Football League, that was a good moment. I have several. I can go on and on with the moments, but the key is to do right by Tyre, justice for Tyre. That's the key.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sampson, for sharing those moments with the members of the jury. Thank you.
Thank you. You may sit down, sir. We're going to take a 10-minute recess. Resume in 10 minutes.
All right, jury exiting.
You keep your hands on your chair.
Are we caught up to live? I think we are. Yep, this is going to be one long victim impact statement. Oh, look at that. Perfect timing. When someone that works at a park tells you when you're a bigger person to sit in a certain seat, you think that seat is safe for you. That's why I think that the park should have some responsibility.
Bring our jury in.
Because I know if someone that works at a park tells me to sit in that seat, then I think I'm safe in that seat. And it may not be their fault. Their boss may have told them that that's the safe seat for people like me, but
I
still.
have to read the law at the end of the case.
But it was ruled an accident. It was
seated, please.
investigated. And it was ruled an accident.
Plaintiff may call their next witness.
But I guess if Funtime told them that, told the park, and then the park told their employees that it wouldn't be the park's fault. It would be Funtime's fault.
Ma'am, I'm going to ask that you speak right into the mic so that you could be heard. Whenever you're ready, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Nikki, if you can introduce yourself to the gentleman of the jury.
I am Nakia Dodd, Tyre Sampson's mother.
Nikki, I know that Ania, your daughter, was in the courtroom earlier. Did she go back to the hotel?
Yes, she said it was kind of too much for her to take on, so she didn't want to continue the day with this.
Well, you are our last witness, and I really want this to be about you and the jury. All I'm going to try to do is ask you some questions, but I want you to talk to these folks who later on today will be deciding this case, okay? When is Tyree's birthday?
August the 17th, 2007,
Where was he born?
St. Louis, Missouri.
And can you describe Tyree as a baby?
As a baby, born 8/17/2007, he was 8 pounds, 15 ounces, 23 inches. So those numbers alone, I knew what I was up against. So I was already prepared in a sense. But as a baby, he was never the colicky or crying or spoiled as we call the babies. He was always happy, go lucky around anyone. If you showed him love, even as a child, he in return showed the same thing.
So we've got a picture behind you, so it's going to be a little difficult for you to make you can see it with the screen.
It's coming up on her screen as well.
So that's Tyree as a 1-year-old.
Yes, 1 year old, maybe a year and a week later, maybe. Yes.
He looks very confident, standing up, and a big boy. This is another
a
picture
big
of him
1-year-old
playing
dad.
on the couch.
Yes. I'll say maybe 6, 7 months, maybe.
And did Tyree? We heard a little bit about a nickname. Tell us about his nickname and how he got his nickname.
The nickname that he came across was Big Tick. Big Tick was a name that he was given from the football coaches because he was almost always the youngest and always the biggest child on the team. Big Tick is like the he was about to be the next best thing out of St. Louis. So it was Big Tick, explosive. Just the name stood behind him and meant a lot, and he carried it well.
And I know that you have a shirt on and the families have a shirt on today. Do you mind showing, ladies and gentlemen, the jury about your shirt and tell us the significance of that?
This was it says Tyree Day on the front. This is for the 13th birthday. My name's on the back. We just took a picture, one of my favorite pictures from each year, and just put them in the letters, basically. This is for the birthday last year, the 13th birthday, I'm sorry.
So we're going to go on a journey now through Tyree's life. And I want you maybe to start by telling what kind of things did you guys like to do as a family?
As a family, we try to, well, as far as me and my kids, we definitely did a lot of activities together. We were, picture here, carnivals, any outdoor activities, sports, anything that would acquire or will allow all of us to engage. I tried to make sure we all was able to participate in some form, shape, form, or fashion. His main thing was outdoor, anything outdoors. He loved it. This is his club picture, as he called it. He had a friend that acquired some event space, and he had a son that was a DJ. He was practicing or learning to be a DJ. They had like a sports, I guess like a little sports area, pool table, doors, that type of thing. Something for the young kids to do on the weekend instead of out doing something terrible. Tyree called this the club that he attended every Saturday on a regular basis, and this is one of the outfits that he wore to go to the club, as he called it. So anything that people and outdoors, that's what he was about.
How old was he when he was pretending to go to the
Club picture, I'll say 11. 11.
And I think a theme we've been talking about is he is a big 11-year-old.
Yes. Yes.
I know this picture is very special to you. This is, tell the ladies and gentlemen jury about this picture.
This is the picture, my last picture that I had of him with the family. The family's cropped out, but this is the last picture. This is the only picture that my son is smiling on. If you guys pay attention to the rest of the pictures, he does not smile at all. And this was the last picture that I took of him and was able to capture a smile with that.
I want to go look. We've talked a lot about middle school. We've heard, both from Jemez and Yarnell, just the type of kid he was to others, not just himself, but how he was to others in middle school. And how would you describe him with his classmates and teachers.
This is City Gordon, the school he last attended. He was always a leader, always a leader. Every child that he came across looked up to him. They loved him. He was so smart and intelligent that he was always done with the work assignments, always on time. That the teachers kind of did, I guess, appointed him as a tutor in a sense because grades was phenomenal. Everything was already turned in. He was able to help others and to get to, I mean, to finish their assignment in the classroom. And this is just leadership skills that he shows throughout the school. Any class, this is a home ec class. They were cooking. Anything that he touched, he mastered anything. This is a science. This is the home class here. This is like a science project. They're preparing for the science project, and this is just all the ones that with this school here, they do like a buddy system. They start at the fourth grade, so the fourth, fifth, and sixth, same class. They just move on with each other. So it's like a close knit family as you gravitate towards middle school. So he was known as the leader basically in the last 3 years of that. That was the fourth, fifth, sixth grade.
Tell us what this picture represents.
This picture is the beginning of a school year. Um, I want to say the seventh grade year. Um, and I had my daughter as well. But this is him in the. He's known for the protector stance. You know, I have your back. I got you. I love you. He's always just had this aura about him, and everyone that came around him, a gentle giant is what I called him, gentle giant, and he was definitely that.
Now, when I look at this picture, I see maybe the two most opposite kids in middle school. Tell us about this child, Jackson, just the way he identifies the kids that really you would think they would not identify to have common interests.
This is a science project, and what they would do, they would allow kids to pick their partner, so they won't have to work with the same
Yeah,
person.
here too,
This is
Draco.
Tyree pick someone different each time, so we can see
It's
how the
weird.
kids collaborate. So he was given
It's
the chance
hot
to
on
always pick
Christmas and
first and pick
Thanksgiving, and then
someone
the other days are
different
cold.
each project, and whoever he worked with, A, B maybe, but they always aced the project. He got along with everyone. Again, grades, we didn't bring anything less than a C. And with the C, he was heartbroken with the C, so he wanted straight A's, but definitely A's and B's. C, a time or two, other than that, but yeah.
So, we've heard, I think, in opening and other parts of the talk, this is interest in the arts and also in science. And so tell us about this picture. Also tell us how this, we're going to hear about football. We're going to obviously talk about football and how he was just so well rounded in these other areas.
He was good in everything. Anything he touched, like I said, he mastered. This is the science center in St. Louis. He had a thing for science and math, two favorite subjects. So anything that he put his mind to and heart to, he basically mastered it. He had no problems. He was like a science. He just had a niche for like building and making things and seeing the outcome of it after the cause and effect. That was his thing. Like push this button, what would this do? This goes this way, how would this react? He just had a niche for science. And it was, I was surprised. I really was. I really was.
So I want to talk about basketball. The middle school you went to before Tyree was there a basketball team?
It was not a basketball team. The school he went to was again City Gordon, and they didn't have anything, I believe, but a soccer team. Tyree was into football and basketball, so he basically persuaded the gym teacher to establish a basketball team. And she was like, I mean, kids want to do it.
We
Oh, let
got
me
a
just stick to what we
dusting
got.
back in the
And like,
80s
no,
and
I
once
can
in the
get some kids for you.
90s.
Just give me a week or two. I can get some kids. And he got the kids. This is the first basketball team that City Gordon acquired because of Tyre Sampson.
And did he go with different teachers to try to get them?
It was two teachers. It was Miss Anderson and Mr. Pat, and those were he knew anything that he asked for they would do, and those was his go-to buddies. And Miss Anderson is the one who established the team, and that's her on the picture. And Mr. Pat was the one who told Tyree to go back to Miss Anderson to get it approved because he didn't want any parts of it, but he knew it was going to go through. And from this day forward, they have a basketball team every year because of Tyree.
Let's talk about that. Is that the jersey that after this tragedy occurred that they made for him at the school?
This is a jersey they made after my son had passed because they knew from that moment they were going to have a basketball team every year from that. And this is the jersey that they made for him. And it's up in the hallway when you walk in the door. It's up there with the other teams as the ones that came after Tyree.
We've heard a lot about football. So I want to talk about, first one kind of, we'll go back in time, but we know that at the time of this incident, he was traveling with one of his football coaches. And did he play on an elite football team that traveled all over the country? Can you tell the ladies going through about that?
The team was St.
I didn't
Louis.
realize how
Yeah,
sad this was
SC
going to
Bad
be.
Boys will be called the team.
I should have.
This team was established by, I think his name is Ornod Jones. He was a very well known coach, did whatever for those boys to get them to travel. We're talking about California, Nebraska, Texas. I mean, literally all over to play different teams. And this was the first time that this team here allowed my son to go to different states and travel and see new things, and all while playing basketball.
This isn't an elite. This is not you go out and you play rec ball. This is the best of the best playing the best of the best in California, the best of the best in Texas, Florida, all around the country. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that how you all started hearing the interest of, even at a middle school level, of college coaches and obviously high school coaches?
When he hit 8th grade is when we started hearing high school first, and then we had a couple of college coaches that were reaching out to us because of the high school, basically. But he was only in the 8th grade and had a lot of college coaches already knocking on the door, like, who is this kid?
Straight A's and a football
Seen him
player.
at, SCA. I'm just trying to get a little more
He could have gone
information.
to any college he wanted to.
He was on his way. He was definitely on his way. This is the first picture for the game, first one of the games at SCA Bad Boys, and he just wanted to get the photo done.
And where was he going to go to high school? Did you already have plans for that? And tell us a little bit about that high school.
The high school was going to be Eastside High. Actually, to back it up, it was going to be Cardinal Ritter. It was going to be Cardinal Ritter, depending on where I was living. That's how that came to play. Cardinal Ritter was the first one that reached out because they would go to the games and see him play. And was like, okay, let's see what we got going on. When we denied Cardinal Ritter, we then went to Eastside. Eastside is the one that started getting him for conditioning and picking him up from the school to, he was on practice as an 8th grader with high schoolers. So they definitely saw the potential in him at an early age. He was supposed to start 9th grade, which is the year he passed. Supposed to start that following year, so they had him early to what they call the conditioning part, and that was the school that we went with, Eastside High.
Here's when he's starting out.
This is when he first started out.
How old is he in this picture?
He was 5 on this picture.
How much did he love the game? I mean, I really want you to tell this jury, the Tyree jury, how much did he love?
Tyree loved, that's him in the back, all the way in the back, always the biggest one. But this was the Hurricanes. Tyree loved the football. He would eat, sleep with the football. School, he'd come home. Where's the football? He'd probably get me to come out, throw the ball with me. I'm like, I wish I had a brother or something younger that you can be able to run with you. But football was the thing, and he had claimed that at a very, very early age. And he was going to be an athlete. This is the picture. That's the coach, Coach Jones at the bottom, the one that sponsored all the trips for the traveling and everything. They were playing states for SCA Bad Boys.
Can you tell who's in this picture with?
This is two of the ones on the outside are two of the closest friends. This one here, Leon Howard, that is the one that was with my son when he his life was taken from him on a ride.
Man, his
Me, I'm
friends
so
are gonna
proud
need
of this.
therapy. Can you imagine? Oh God.
Sorry.
Father was one of the first
Yes.
Is that Tyree's?
This is one of the signature pictures they have. It's a group in St. Louis called Under the Radar. They just different, I guess, photographers come to different games and they just capture good pictures of the boys playing. And they caught him coming onto the field, and this was the one that really got him recognized, from coaches and other schools because this is just like a bold statement, a bold picture.
I wish we could see the
He
pictures.
came to play.
We all might have dreams as a young kid of playing professional football, but when you look at this picture, you look at this size and the interest as an eighth grader from college coaches, was that his goal?
Yes, he had it all mapped out for to be in the eighth grade. His plans was to start off with STL Bad Boys. From there,
Oh,
they
cool.
would go to East Side High. From
He looks
East Side
grown.
to Alabama for the high for the college, and the NFL team was going to be left in the air depending on who was doing the best in the season. I guess when it came time for him to go to college, but he had it mapped, like literally mapped. Him and Leon had like a pact basically. We're going to do everything together. STL Bad Boys for STL Bad Boys. We're going to go to East Side. From East Side, we're going to go to Alabama. Alabama, we're going to the NFL. We know that for a fact, but the team was just question mark basically.
This is a picture, is my understanding, after the tragedy.
Yes, this is after my son had passed. The East St. Louis High, the Fires, had just won state champs. Um, and if you see in the caption, it says "Did it for Tick." That's what they called my son. Did it, Big Tick. The light was shining in between, like the SG Dylan. I said that was my son Tyree because he was telling them, "You guys not leaving me out. I made it this far. I'm there with you and the team. We did it together." And this is my favorite picture when the state champ they won in 2022, I believe it was. And this is he was in the picture as well. I say that all the time.
You say those lights right there.
That's my son. Yes, because there were no lights coming down in that particular area. It was like daylight, maybe 5 or 6, but it wasn't light. No sun was shining. So I know that was my son putting himself in that picture.
We heard from obviously Jamez talking about his relationship with Tyree. I'd like to talk about Ania a little bit. How old is she now?
Ania is 11.
Describe to the jury their relationship, Tyree and his little sister.
Tyree was like the big brother. I'm the protector. Come to me if you have any problem, be it school, anything. I'm your big brother. I'm going to deal with everything that you're going through. He made sure that whatever she had, anything going on, he was the big brother. Especially when he came, they went to the same school as well, so everyone knew that's Tyree's little sister. So leave her alone. It was like a don't mess with Tyree's sister, but they bond was like undescribable. He had her playing football at times. He just made sure that she stay on the right track, get those good grades. Like, follow me, I get good grades. You should do the same. That was his motto to her. You should do the same.
How is she doing?
She has her moments. She has her moments. She has her days where she's okay, and then she has her days where she kind of distant herself. So I'd let the school know what was going on, and if she's just so happened to pull away, not because she's being disobedient, because she's having a moment. She may need a couple minutes to get herself back together. But other than that, her grades are good. A's and B's is what we know.
How old's his sister, did she say?
A's and B's.
I know you're so proud of your older brother and your older son. When you look at him and see what he suffered, how does that affect this whole this family dynamic?
It's gut wrenching. It's devastating that for a kid that was not, out here doing anything reckless to lose your life for negligence is is undescribable. I mean, to lose a child regardless is undescribable. My son had the world coming to him, and he was gonna have the world like on the silver platter. It was gonna be handed to him. He knew that, and for me, for this to happen, it's like they just took that from me, stole that from me. When he wouldn't even give a chance to live, he wouldn't even give a chance to do anything. They robbed me. They robbed him. They robbed us. I'm left with memories like, what would he be doing? Well, how would he look? I mean, that's unfair. It's unfair. It's unfair, especially the kind of kid he was. It's unfair.
If you need to take a second,
Oh, I'm okay.
I know we've heard about why he was in Orlando. I don't want to go through that. We've heard he was with the Howard family, and if you can you talk to the jury?
Can you imagine being that family that took your friend's
was
kid
gone.
on spring
I
break?
was on a 3-day trip.
Oh my
He left
God.
on the 21st. Left on the 21st. I'm sorry, he left on 22nd. He left on March 22nd.
You have to call their
I
mom.
just talked to him.
Oh
March
man.
the 22nd, I talked to him. And he always checked in with me to tell me, Mom, I'm here. Mom, I'm doing this. Mom, look at this hotel room. Look at the pool. I mean, I had pictures throughout the trip. He had texted me at 11 o'clock that morning and told me, best view in the world. It was a picture of a pool, and he's looking out down at the pool. And when he sent me that picture, I immediately attached the song to him because his favorite rapper was Rod Wave. So I immediately attached one of Rod Wave's songs to the picture, and I posted on Facebook. And the name of the song was "Already Won." So we're saying, you already got this. This is yours. Whatever you want is going to be yours. Just to get a call 12 hours later to say my son was gone. And it didn't even, to be honest, wasn't even told he was gone. I was told he was hurt badly. He was hurt badly. That's what I was told. So I'm in St. Louis. My son's in Florida. Imagine getting a call that your son is injured. You cannot touch him. You can't be there for him. You can't be there with him. You're doing everything over the phone, and then to get there and to get the just so much confusion over the phone. Where it was? Is he breathing? Is he hurt? That is heartbreaking. I was so confused. Like, is my son okay? Is he alive? What's going on? They're like, no, he's hurt bad. He's okay though. It was so confusing. I didn't know where he was. I knew where my son was because I tracked him. The phone was still on him. I was able to track my son to tell the house exactly where my son's location was. I mean, I got the call at 11, exactly 11:11 St. Louis Central Time. Leon called the phone and he was like, "Ma," and I'm like, "Tyree," because Tyree phone, he never kept a charge on his phone, never. So when Leon is calling the phone, it's Leon's number, but it's I mean I have him saved under Tyree's other brother. That's how I knew it was Leon. So when I'm asking like Tyree, he was like, "No, ma, no." I'm like, "Leon?" "Yes." I'm like, what happened?" He was like, "Ma, Tyree fell off a ride." That's all I heard. That's all I was told. I'm thinking, first thing I said, "Is he hurt?" He's like, "Yeah, he's kind of hurt, but yeah, he's okay." I never knew the height of the ride. I never knew any of this.
What?
I'm thinking maybe a little small little roller coaster or something, maybe a couple feet in the air, fell off. Okay, I'm like, okay, I'm panicking because again, I'm in St. Louis. He's in Florida. We are miles away, so everything's been told to me over the phone. So I'm dealing. I'm trying to be calm, trying to get as much information I can. He was like, "Yeah, mom, he's okay, but they're not giving us too much information. But he's okay. He's not. He's he's hurt. He's hurt badly, but he's breathing." That's all I want to know. Is he breathing? Yeah, he's breathing. He's breathing. In the midst, I'm packing up my clothes. I'm packing because I'm about to go to Florida to be with my son. I start packing. I'm coming from where we St. Louis County, and I had to go to St. Louis City. That's like a 25-minute drive. I did speak with someone, and they told me that they would get back with me as soon as possible to let me know what was going on with my son. I had to drive 25. I drove 25 minutes because I was leaving from my sister's home. The whole ride, I never got a call. Mother instinct is not good. Not good. So I'm getting there. I get the suitcase ready because I'm waiting for them to call me and tell me, okay, now you can come. You know, he's doing okay. Come.
Brian, what happened? This happened in Orlando. I didn't know that this was happening today, which is why my camera's off, because I saw this and I was like, oh, I gotta stream this. This happened in March of 2022. There's a little park on International Drive in Orlando called Icon Park. They have the Orlando Eye, the giant Ferris wheel. They have a slingshot. They have something else called a rocket, and they have what is this one called? The free drop, the free fall. And this was a big kid. He was only 14 years old, but he looks like a full grown overweight adult. This kid is huge. And there's 2 seats on this ride that had been manipulated so that the sensor made it seem like that the harness was completely shut and safe, because they have those sensors on them where if the harness isn't latched good, the ride doesn't operate. Well, they'd been manipulated, and it was investigated, and they said that there was nothing. It was an accident. So the park was absolved of all responsibility, apparently. And so now the family is suing the manufacturer of the ride. I think it went up like 400 feet in the air. So I'm not sure. I guess he didn't fall from the top because he didn't die right away. If he fell from the top, it would have been splat, right? So I guess he fell out on the way up when it wasn't going crazy fast and it was on the way up. But he had been not allowed to get on rides all day, and I guess they felt sorry for him or something, and they let it. He was like 100 pounds overweight for the ride specifications, and they still let him ride, which is why I think that the park should be responsible as well, because I'm an overweight person. That's why I lost the weight, because I'm tired of paying the price to get into a park and not being able to ride all the rides. Because I go to those things all the time, and I sit in a test seat and I don't fit. The light doesn't change or whatever system they use, and I'm like, I pay just as much as everybody else to get in here. Why can't I ride all the rides? And yeah, it's a safety issue, but they should make it where everybody can ride. So this one is close to me because of that. And when it happened, it was like 2 or 3 days after I had not fit in the test seat. And my stepdaughter was like, why did you even try the test seat? You should have just got in the ride. And then this happened. And I was like, Casey, this is why I tried the test seat. This is exactly why. I don't want to die. Yeah, they're supposed to be safe. But Judy was telling me that they passed a law, which I probably can't scroll back up far enough to find. Oh, wait. Maybe I can. Improving the safety of amusement park rides, the Tyre Sampson Act is a piece of legislation in Florida aimed at improving the safety of rides. The act requires state approval for rides before they open, increases safety inspection, and imposes new employee training requirements. Okay, so it's not a law yet. It's just an act. Wait, is an act a law? Or does that mean it's waiting to become a law? I don't know. Yeah, this kid was only 14. Straight A's, good kid, football player.
Goes by, I call down to Orange County, and I'm asking like, hey, I'm the kid, Tyre's mother. What's going on? You can't give me information over the phone. I'm like, I'm his mother. Why can't I get the information on the phone? It's HIPAA law, I believe is what she told me. I'm like, okay, I have someone down there that he's with. Can you give him that? We can't give it to him. He's not the father. So now I'm like, what is going on? But at the same time, I'm knowing my son is gone. My son is gone. They never told me that. It took them about 3 hours to tell me that I lost my son. When they called back to ask for me, I'm already knowing. I mean, I didn't even have the phone. But I had the phone like on the counter, and I'm just like over the phone, like in the stands over the phone. And when she said, "Are you sitting down?" I just lost it because I had already knew. I knew I was. Why'd you it take you 3 hours to tell me something I had already knew? 3 hours. I was hurt to hear that over the phone. I couldn't get to my son. I had to. They told me, "Don't come. Don't come. Stay where you are until we get everything sorted out. Then you can come down."
Overweight's good when you're a football
We
player.
I had to do everything from St. Louis basically because he was again in Florida. Everything was done in St. Louis. I had it to where I had to call the corner.
My dad played
I had to
football in
find
high
somebody to
school.
get
His
my
nickname
son
was Bull.
from
My dad was a big
Florida
guy.
to bring him back. And I've heard the saying like, you're end up in a cardboard box. That's how my son was returned to me in a cardboard box. In a cardboard box. They told me that when you see him, he's gonna be in a better state than from the accident. He'll be in a better state than how he looked when he fell. I saw my son in raw form. And nothing was done to my son. So it's like, what is this? In the box, he's destroyed his face. I'm like, to see this, to remember this,
I wouldn't want to see
is
that.
it tears
I
me
oh
up.
I don't
It
I don't
eats
think
me
you
up
could.
because I'm like, I was not there to protect him. I was
But you
not there to
couldn't have
protect
done
him. I
anything.
couldn't see him. I couldn't hold him. I couldn't tell him, I got you. I couldn't tell him, I'm there for you. The same thing he would tell other people. I couldn't even tell my son that.
Yeah, at one he
Yesterday,
looked
I
like he was
hurt me.
about
I was
3.
crushed.
He was a
I was
big
devastated
kid,
because
not just
I'm
fat.
your
He was
mother. I'm supposed to
big.
protect you. By any and all means, I'm supposed to protect you. Failed. I feel like I failed on this one. I dropped the ball. And I just hate that. I couldn't get to him. That was the only thing. Couldn't get to him. That eats me up every day that I was not there when he this fall. I was not there for him or with him. That bothers me bad. It eats me up.
Well, I want to talk have you in this case. Think of the wonderful, wonderful case. Know that his room has a special place to you. And we have a short video that I'll show you here. This is it. Narrate a little bit.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Coming here. This is also the same room where I lose my mind. This is football. I'm sorry, this is the basketball jersey that he acquired from City Garden. They signed the basketball, different classmates, different sayings on it. These are a couple of pictures. This is how I know my son from this day forward. The rest of the things are things I have acquired from a group of that I was in for Tyree. But for him, this is the Flyers jersey, of course. One of the Flyers jerseys that he had. This is when they made state championship with the Flyers. This is what they call I believe it was a grave cover. If I'm not mistaken.
tell ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you say it's a room of peace. Talking about that dichotomy of what you
Microphone.
think about when you think about the future of our country.
The room, that room is it's a room of peace because everything that I knew that meant something to him, I tried to keep. And I just different things that people sent to me before my son. It's a group out for him as well, and they sent him plenty of things: football, teddy bears, T-shirts, all that type of things. That room there is when I want to go in there and just to remember my son, because this is how I had to remember my son through a button, through a shirt, through cardboard images of him. This is how I had to remember my son from this day forward. It's peaceful because I know that these are things that he loved. The basketball, the football, it was a lot more to it. It's a lot of things that was in that room. This was his room that he came to, the bed that he laid in, the things that he acquired and loved to play with and touch and all that. But it's also the room, the same room that gives me peace and that I get a sense of peace. It's the same room I break down in. Because again, I'm looking at images now. My son, I can't touch him. I'm touching him on a shirt, hugging a pillow, hugging a blanket, smelling jerseys. That's the room I break down to every day. It's not a day that don't go by that this room. I'm not in this room. I'm in here every day. I speak to my son. I'm asking him questions, asking him, what should I do? Tyree, I'm going to do this. I'm about to do this. What do you think? Knowing I'm not getting a response, but this is my way of still being connected with my son that I know never going to come back. It took me a minute to get to this place of not knowing he's going to come back, but I don't. This is my room of peace. I mean, this is where I go to. I just sit there and I just look around and just what else? I wonder how would you look? What would you be doing? I put it in my task every day. Tyree, don't forget you got a school today. Tyree, don't forget you have a game. This is every day. I'm asking him questions to get nothing, no response at all. I have a makeshift figure of my son, which is a crate that City Garden sent me with all of his belongings in there at the end of the school year. And it was like a journal, like report card, anything that he left at the end of the year, they put in the crate. So I took the crate and I put the jersey over the crate and the helmet on top of the jersey, and it literally sits up on the crate. And that's my Tyree. That's who I confirm in. That's my confidant. That's my peace. I have to sit on the floor, talk to my makeshift of my son because I was robbed of him. They took an innocent kid, man. Tyrese should still be here. I should not be sitting here. You guys should not be in the jury box. We should be doing other things than debating what we should get. Money. I want my son back. I've never wanted to be in this situation to put money on the life. No, no. I was going to get the money. Why you say he was going to be an NFL player? It was coming. It was coming. I was going to get it. My son was going to be a beast in football. That's known. My son was 6'6", 25 at the age of 14. He was winning the same as the Eastside High senior that was coaching him. My son was going to he was going to be known. So all this deliberating money, I don't want this. I want my son back. And then I would love to rewind, go back to March the 22nd, where he had just taught Mom, I'm living my best life. I love it here. I want to go back to that. I want to go back. I don't want to have to wake up and go through my phone and on Facebook looking at memories. Why? Why am I robbed? Why? Why?
May I have the jury version or the jury copy of the jury instruction, of the verdict, jury instructions? Yes. You have 7 sets? Yeah, that's fine. I just want to look at these while you're finishing. How many? I only have 4 copies. Okay. Thank you. All right. Plaintiff may call their next witness. You may proceed.
These are the North Health tables from the National Vital.
Can we hear two, please?
Did you move the evidence in? Okay. So exhibits 1 through how many? All right. Thank you.
What happened? The feed ended. Crap.
These instructions of law that you must now follow. When I finish telling you about
No,
the
it
rules
didn't.
of law, the
Never mind.
plaintiff
That
will
was
present their
weird.
final arguments to you, and then you will retire to consider your verdict. The claims in this case are as follows. It is admitted that defendant Funtime was negligent in failing to manufacture, design, build, and supervise the free fall drop tower ride at Icon Park in Orlando, Florida, which caused the death of Tyre Sampson. Plaintiffs Nakia Dodd and Yarnell Sampson suffered damages as a result of losing their son. They must prove their claims by the greater weight of the evidence. I'll now define some of the terms you will use in deciding this case. Greater weight of the evidence means the more persuasive and convincing force and effect of the entire evidence in this case. You should award Nakia Dodd and Yarnell Sampson an amount of money that the greater weight of the evidence shows will fairly and adequately compensate them for their damages, including any damages that the estate and the survivors are reasonably certain to incur or experience in the future. In determining the damages recoverable on behalf of Tyre Sampson's case, you should consider the following elements. Medical or funeral expenses due to Tyre Sampson's injury or death, which were paid by or on behalf of Tyre Sampson. The mental pain and suffering of Nakia Dodd and Yarnell Sampson as a result of the injury and death of their son, Tyre Sampson. In determining the duration of mental pain and suffering, you may consider the life expectancies of Nakia Dodd and Yarnell Sampson, together with the other evidence in the case. In determining the duration of any future loss sustained by Nakia Dodd and Yarnell Sampson by reason of the death of Tyre Sampson, you may consider the joint life expectancy of Nakia Dodd, Yarnell Sampson, and Tyre Sampson. The joint life expectancy is that period of time when both the decedent and the survivors would have remained alive. The mortality tables received in evidence may be considered together with the other evidence in the case in determining how long each may have been expected to live.
The money's dependent on how long.
Mortality tables are not binding on you, but may be considered together with other evidence in the case bearing on the claimant's health, age, and physical condition in determining the probable length of their lives.
Depends on how long.
In deciding this case, it is your duty as jurors to decide the issues and only those issues that I submit for your determination and to answer certain questions I ask you to answer on a special form called a verdict form. You must come to an agreement about what your answers will be. Your agreed upon answers to my questions are called your jury verdict. The evidence in this case consists of the sworn testimony of the witnesses, all exhibits received in evidence, and all facts that were admitted or agreed to by the parties. Your job is to determine what the facts are. You may use reason and common sense to reach conclusions. You may draw reasonable inferences from the evidence, but you should not guess about things that were not covered here, and you must always apply the law as I have explained it to you. In evaluating the believability of any witness and the weight you will give the testimony of any witness, you may properly consider the demeanor of the witness while testifying, the frankness or lack of frankness of the witness, the intelligence of the witness, any interest the witness may have in the outcome of the case, the means and facts about which the witness testified, and the reasonableness of the testimony of the witness considered in the light of all the evidence in the case and in the light of your own experience and common sense. That is the law you must follow in deciding this case. The attorneys for the plaintiff will now present their final argument, and what you.
Afternoon. I want to thank you. Myself. I really want to thank you on behalf of you did something that some others have not done. Showed up. Served the people. You as citizens came here and endured that. Endured hearing about this incredible loss, this incredible grief. Unimaginable. Absolutely unimaginable and tragic way that these two parents have had to live with this for 2.5 years. Got on planes yesterday. Bare their souls to you.
Okay,
They
this
showed up. When this news traveled not just to Orlando, that video that we saw was played all around the world. This case, when it happened, went all around the world. When somehow this boy fell out of a ride. Funtime knew about it. They knew about it when the Department of Agriculture,
well, this was a
the state of
surprise
Florida,
live.
found them responsible, found them culpable for this. The circuit said, you are responsible. They knew about it. And each time they didn't show up. They threw that summons in the garbage. Never bothered to be accountable in the United States of America, in the state of Florida, in Orlando. You saw where they are. They're everywhere. They're in over 20 states. They're in over 30 countries. They come to those trade shows. They're in this convention center.
They just had the
Places
IAPA
all
trade
around the
show.
country
Were they
to
there?
sell their rides. They're making deals in America all the time. You saw the evidence. Because
They
they're there
were
to make
there.
that money. But they're not here for responsibility. There's only one group who can make them responsible. You know, Yarnell and Nakia stood tall to take that ride down. They went to the Florida legislature to get a bill passed to save future kids. They did all that. They can't make them accountable. They can't make them responsible. Only the Tyre Sampson jury knew that. And that is what is so amazing about this system. That 7 strangers came here today and had no idea what type of case they were going to be on. We all were selected in this case. That will not only live with this family for the rest of their lives, but with all of us. You know, rarely do you have a situation where the court has found a corporation already liable. And that's what you have here in this case. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go over some stuff. You've already seen it. But what is
So they already won by default because they didn't show up. It's just a matter of how much the jury gives
can
them.
exist in all those places except for one. Can't be here. It can't be mine. They can't look these two parents in the eyes.
Use your microphone, dude.
This is what happened. We know why. What were they saying? Their behavior, their conduct is absolutely egregious. And they just said that. They absolutely held their noses up, not only to this family, but to this court, to our entire system of justice. Because, well, we're from Austria. Well, look like it. You got a pretty good presence in the United States of America, except for when it counts. And you've seen all these slides. You know where they are. All these places where they have these dangerous rides that have to have security, have to have safety, have to have procedures, and they don't. And like Kim said earlier, this is not simple stuff. This is one of the potentially most dangerous rides you could build if you didn't do it right. And they absolutely didn't do it right. You saw the advertisements where they brag about it. The tallest in the world. We're going to do everything different, even though we have a ride not as tall at Dollywood up in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. We're not going to tilt that one forward 30 degrees. We're not going to build it 430 feet. But I tell you what they do have on that one.
Seatbelts.
You've seen that. You've seen that throughout. There are 2 major unanswerable failures here. No seatbelt, and then they allow the seats to be manipulated. And you've seen all this. But this is how egregious this is. It was interesting that a juror said this morning, what about a scale? It's a scale of how bad the conduct is. Well, I don't know what scale we did. We could put 1 to 10 to 1 to 100, 1 to 100. That's a no. When you know what safety is and what you have to have on the tallest drop tower in the world that's going to go 75 miles an hour and stop. Why in the world wouldn't you have what you have on every other ride? Their behavior is absolutely unconscionable. And their own documents, where they say, oh, there's no need for an extra safety or seatbelt because the seat restraint system will fill more than the requirements. That's what they tell everyone. They sell 1 to Patrick College. Well, they sell 1 to Icon Park. They sell 1 to Disney World. Well, here's a park. That's what the main part of it is you don't need this for the manufacturer. That's how reckless they are. That's why the court found them absolutely negligent in this case. And if that's not enough, let's make sure that the seats, the only safety requirement we have, because we said they have the seatbelt, is that guardrail absolutely be in place.
There's a microphone right next to you. Use it.
Can't do it. That's exactly what they did. You've seen all this. You know they directed Tyre to C1. We know that prior time of the accident, C1's harness proximity sensor was manually loosened, adjusted because this manufacturer, Funtime, allowed it to happen. And again, these are the findings that the state of Florida paid for. The state of Florida did an exhaustive examination because the Department of Agriculture said this cannot happen. This never happened. This is exactly what happened. Why Tyre came out of that chair. You've seen all this evidence, and it is uncontroverted, and the court has ruled on it. But it is absolutely egregious. There is no way in the world. And when we talk about the names, we talk about what we talk about in groups. How do you measure things? One thing you have to do, and we all talk about how using sounds can allow talk about it. This can't be real. Nakia goes into that room. This cannot be real. He has to be here. Darnell wakes up in the morning. This has to be the day. It has to be the day that he is coming back because this could not have happened here. And that is what, ladies and gentlemen, the jury, I keep saying ladies and gentlemen, this is the jury. We talked about it. Again, we talked about the instruction vertical that says that this is about and like we talked about earlier, you as a jury have to go on and it starts March 20th. Starts a couple miles.
I've never been to Dollywood. I want to go really bad. I like rides. I'm picky though. I like dark rides. I don't like to see where I'm going.
You have to start there. Go through today. 2.5 days. Every single day. Every single night.
I don't like scary, like haunted house scary, but
That is what
scary
you,
I love.
as the jury, have to do in this case. And I'll tell you something that I believe is really, really.
Good Lord, dude. This would have been a really good closing statement if we could have heard it. The parts I've heard have been really good.
What incredible. Funtime doesn't have the absolute courage to come not only face them, but face the court, face their interaction. All that factors in when you think about this young man and the loss of his life. You've seen all the pictures. It's been a one day, but I think you have gotten an incredible view at this young man who not only this incredible family lost, but truthfully, we all lost. The well-roundedness. Yes, he was going to be a football star, but he was going to be so much else to so many people, to so many kids. You saw him in class. I mean, these pictures of him as the gentle giant in this class with these young kids who looked up to him like a god. What did he do? How did he meet that? With humbleness, with kindness, with everything that Nakia, Yarnell, and the whole family put into him to make him what he was. And you heard both of them say from that stand, it's not fair. And they were robbed of him. They were robbed of him for the rest of his life. You know, what a 14 years. You look at this experience that we've only seen in this one day to look through it and see how absolutely amazing he was. The leader, the friend. I think it was said from the stand that he was the perfect thing, the absolute perfect thing. And the problem is when you have complete innocence on one side, it meets up with absolute corporate difference, uncaring, you have a tragedy. That's what happened on March 24th of 2022. Now, how do you do this? You've got to do it both in the past and in the future. And we're going to suggest some damage numbers to you, ladies and gentlemen, but it is up to you. When you look at the past 2.5 years that we have gone through, every single day, every single night, that video in her mind, waking her up at night, absolute nightmares and terrors, we would suggest a number of things from the job. reason why I talk about this is a monumental case. Absolutely monumental case that you have two separate claims. You know, sometimes people, you know, they talk about the loss and they don't differentiate everything. Different, they're the same. That's what you have in this case. We talked about it before. Juries are powerful. They are incredibly powerful. It's not all about it. Because just like both of these men said, we're all powerful.
What breakfast?
You go outside again? You go outside? No? You just coming to see me? Okay.
I see that. Thank you. And the cameraman is away from the screen.
I'm about to show you the video again. You've seen, if you don't want to look at it again, I can look at it.
I wonder if we can find the video. Oh, they're not going to show it. I wonder how long it's going to take them to decide. Dang, I want to hear what he's saying.
Thank you, counsel. Turn the lights back on. Members of the jury, you have now heard all the evidence. My instruction on the laws that you must apply in reaching your verdict and the closing argument of the plaintiff. You will shortly retire to the jury room to decide this case. Before you do, I have a few final instructions for you. During deliberations, please communicate only about the case with each other and only when all jurors are present in the jury room. I will shortly send back to the jury room all of the evidence that was received during the trial. In reaching your decision, do not do any research on your own or as a group. Do not use any outside legal sources, the internet, or any other reference materials. You are not to communicate with any person outside the jury about this case or talk with anyone about this case until you have reached a verdict. Do not contact anyone to assist you, such as a family accountant, doctor, or lawyer. These communications rules apply until I discharge you at the end of the case. If you become aware of any violation of these instructions, please tell the court deputy so that that information can be relayed to me. You may take any notes that you have taken during the course of this trial with you into the jury deliberation room. Your notes are simply an aid to your own memory, and neither your notes nor those of any other juror are binding or conclusive.
Yeah, the video
Your
on
notes are
YouTube
not a
doesn't
substitute for your
show
own
that
memory or
much.
that of other jurors. Instead, your verdict must result from the collective memory and judgment of all jurors based on the evidence and testimony presented during the trial. At the conclusion of the trial, the court deputy will collect all of your notes and immediately destroy them. No one will ever read your notes. In reaching your verdict, do not let bias, sympathy, prejudice, public opinion, or any other
Sympathy.
sentiment for or against any
That's
party
what these kind of
to
trials
influence your
do.
decision.
How
Your
can you
verdict
not?
must be based on the
How
evidence
can
that
you
has been
not
received
have sympathy?
and the law
Well,
on which I have instructed you.
but
Reaching a verdict is exclusively your job.
I guess you
I
can't.
cannot participate in that decision in any way, and you
Well,
should
they've
not
already
guess what I
granted
think
it
your verdict should
because
be
by
from
default,
something I may have said or done during the course of the trial.
now they just have to decide
You
how
should not
much.
think that I prefer one verdict over another. Pay careful instruction to all of the instructions I have given you, for that is the law you must follow. I will send 4 complete sets of the jury instructions back into the jury room for you to review during your deliberations. All of the instructions are important, and you must consider all of them together. There are no other laws that apply to this case, and even if you do not agree with these laws, you must use them in reaching your decision in this case. When you go to the jury room, the first thing you should do is choose a presiding juror to act as a foreperson during your deliberations. The foreperson should see to it that your discussions are orderly, that everyone has a fair chance to be heard. It is your duty to talk with one another in the jury room and to consider the views of all of the jurors. Each of you must decide the case for yourself, but only after you have considered the evidence with the other members of the jury. Feel free to change your mind if you are convinced that your position should be different. You should all try to agree, but do not give up your honest beliefs just because the others think differently. Keep an open mind so that you and your fellow jurors can easily share ideas about the case. I'll give you a verdict form with questions you must answer. I've already instructed you on the law to use in answering these questions. You must consider each question separately in the order that they appear. The verdict form reads as follows. We, the jury, return the following verdict. Question number 1. What is the amount of damages sustained by Nakia Dodd for her pain and suffering as a result of Tyre Sampson's injury and death, and for medical and funeral expenses resulting from Tyre Sampson's injury and death? Subparagraph A, in the past, there's a line for you to complete. Subparagraph B, in the future, and there's a line for you to complete.
So do they
Question number
know?
2, what is the amount of damages
Do
sustained
they
by
know how
Yarnell
much they
Sampson
were money they spent on
for
medical or
pain and
funeral and all
suffering as a
that?
result of Tyre Sampson's injury and death, and for medical or funeral expenses resulting from Tyre Sampson's injury and death? In the past, there's a line for you to complete. In the future, there's a line for you to complete. So say we all, this blank day of blank 2024, there's a place for the foreperson to sign. Please print the foreperson's name underneath the signature. Your verdict must be unanimous. That is, your verdict must be agreed to by each of you. When you have agreed on your verdict, your foreperson must write the date and sign it at the bottom and return the verdict to the court deputy. If any of you need to communicate with me for any reason, write me a note and give it to the court deputy. In your note, do not disclose
Yeah, I
any
was
vote or
wondering about
split or the
that.
reason for the communication. Is there any objection to the form
There are.
of the jury instructions that was just read? No? Okay, thank you.
I don't know why Family Fun Time or whatever they're called, why they didn't take
And at this time,
a settlement. I mean, why didn't they
the
offer a
jury,
settlement?
except for Mr. Tran. Actually, let me excuse you for Mr. Tran. You were picked as the alternate juror. Under our system, we always have at least one alternate juror on the jury. So in the event any of the members of the jury were unable or unwilling to continue, you would have been asked to step in and fulfill that role. That did not happen. So at this time, I'm going to release you from any further obligation to remain as a juror in this case. I cannot allow you to go back to the jury room, but in the event you've left anything in the jury room of a personal nature, let the deputies know, and they will retrieve it for you. So with thanks and appreciation of the court, I'm going to excuse you at this time. Please remain seated for just a minute. The rest of you may retire to consider your verdict.
All right, jury exiting.
Deputy, I have this for them.
So Nancy, what is Spooky World? That's a place? I don't think I would go to some place called Spooky World. I went to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal one time and said, nope,
He's free to go, yes.
I'm out.
If he didn't leave anything in the room that he needs
Never
to get.
again.
I would like to have counsel take one look at the jury, at the evidence going to the jury, just to make sure nothing inadvertently was left out or nothing extra was put in, to make sure the evidence is in order.
Is it open all the time? Or is it just a Halloween thing?
All right, if the deputy would take, thank you. And do you get that on the record? Council's had an opportunity to review the exhibits going back to the jury and have indicated they are all in order. Deputy, if you would take the evidence along with this, just leave this on top of the box, please. Back to the jury room at this time. And folks, we are going to be present for the reading of the verdict. Please leave a cell phone number with the clerk. Anything else? All right.
After the 6 o'clock hour, Fox 35 investigates some new cell phone video that shows the moments before a 14-year-old died after falling from a ride at Icon Park. So take a look here behind me. This side angle shows Tyre Sampson in his seat on the free fall drop tower. You can see in these videos how much higher Sampson's harness is compared to the other riders. The state's accident report says the ride was coming down the tower, and when the magnets engaged, Sampson fell out of his seat, but the harness was still in a down and locked position. Fox 35 showed the videos to two different experts, and their opinions were similar.
I see a patron in an amusement ride, and that over-the-shoulder restraint system is not properly affixed.
It should have been a closed circuit, if you will, so where it came all the way down over the shoulders, containing a person and/or resting in their lap and the seat pan.
Didn't have the fall.
Well, Fox 35 went through the operator's manual as well and find out how the harnesses are checked. Workers pull up the screen, and the green means the seat is locked and good to go. The attendants at the ride that night say they did check Sampson's seat and say it was locked.
Oh, okay. Oh. on. Watch Fox screw me on all of this. Oh, well, I'll just delete it if Fox.
It is safe. Fox 35 has live team coverage. Stephanie Buffamonte is looking into who may be liable for the fatal fall.
But we begin with Fox 35's Holly Bristow. So, Holly, you got your hands on a new accident report that shows that Tyre Sampson's seat was still locked after he fell.
It did say that. And I spoke with an independent ride consultant today, and he tells me if this teen was too big for the ride, that it doesn't matter where the harness was at the time the ride came to a stop. He says that due to a loophole in Florida code, there's a possibility that that teen never even knew that he was likely too big for the ride.
If he was over the weight limit, why did y'all allow him to get on this ride? Y'all told him he couldn't get on the slingshot. Y'all told him he couldn't get on the swing, but y'all allowed him to get on this one. Why?
Forensic inspectors from an engineering firm in Michigan spending the afternoon taking measurements and a closer look at the Orlando freefall, trying to get to the bottom of why 14-year-old Tyre Sampson fell to his death from this ride Thursday night. Tyre's cousin, Shay Johnson, shocked to hear the ride operation manual for Orlando freefall lists 287 pounds as the weight limit for riders. Tyre weighed 340 pounds, so he was 53 pounds over the weight limit.
I would rather for y'all to hurt his little feelings and tell him not to get on and see his life would have been still here.
According to the state's accident report, quote, free fall was coming down the tower. When the magnets engaged, the patron came out of the seat. Harness was still in a down and locked position when the ride stopped.
Yeah, just because it was down in a locked position doesn't mean it was safe to ride.
Brian Avery is an independent ride consultant and lecturer at the University of Florida.
You can see that there was a gap with respect to the position of the harness in regard to the rider on this particular fateful day.
Avery states he's discovered a loophole in Florida code when it comes to signage posting height and weight requirements. He fears the teen had no way of knowing he was too big for the ride.
That loophole basically says if the manufacturer doesn't require to have signage postings and or identify specific requirements to post, you don't have to have that signage.
And we haven't been able to get on property, so we have not been able to see if there is any signage indicating that there is a maximum weight limit for riders. Now, I will tell you, these forensic inspectors who have been out here all day, I did just confirm that they were hired by the law firm that is working for the ride. And coming up at 6 o'clock, we'll take a look into the training that we've learned that the ride operators get, and also some of the daily safety inspections that they do on the ride. For now, reporting live in Orlando, Holly Bristow, Fox 35.
Okay, I don't want to get in trouble playing too much of that. So that's what happened in Orlando. At Volcano Bay, they have the signs posted for the water slides. They have water slides that if you're over a certain amount, you can't ride. But this is so weird to say this. I had lost weight because the first time. Now, I've been to all the parks repeatedly over and over and over since I was a child. But at one point, I weighed over 300 pounds. And I had lost, I weighed about 280. And then I decided to have weight loss surgery. And I lost maybe 20 pounds after the surgery. If that. So I wasn't ready to lose the weight, basically. And then I went on a diet and I lost maybe 30 pounds. And so we went to the park. I couldn't ride any of the thrill rides I wanted to ride. I couldn't ride any of the Harry Potter rides. That ticked me off because that was like, that's why I went. Like I hadn't been in years. Gosh, like 20 years maybe. So it was almost like being there for the first time. And I wanted to ride the Harry Potter rides. I couldn't fit in any of them. So I was like, no, this is not happening. So I lost about 30 pounds. Went back to the park, was able to ride the Harry Potter rides. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the most fun I've ever had in my life. Then I didn't stick with the diet and I gained it back. And then I got to where I couldn't fit in the rides again. And I was like, no, this is not happening. Because when you pay the same price that everybody else does and then you can't ride like half the rides, that's not fair. You know, like, you should have like a discount ticket if you're overweight and can't ride half the rides. That's my opinion. But I know people would probably say, well, it's your choice to be overweight, but it's really not. Anyways, that's a whole different subject. So now, between the weight loss surgery and now that I'm on medication to help my appetite control, I am finally losing the weight. So I've lost close to 70 pounds now, and I have not been back yet, but I cannot wait, because even before, this excites me, because like I said earlier, I don't know if you guys heard it, or I think I said it out loud. Like, when I get on a ride, I feel like I'm going to be safe, but there's this little voice in the back of my head that always says, what if? What if this is the one fluke time that something goes wrong, So that makes me feel even better that, now they're, maybe putting even more safeguards into place. Like, I wanted to go to Icon Park and I wanted to ride the drop tower, but I didn't know it was the one that brings you out and drops you. I don't want to ride that kind. I like the kind that just takes you up and drops you down. I don't want to feel like I'm going to fall on my face. But I don't want to see where I'm going. I like dark rides. Now, my favorite one at Universal is you're sitting in a seat. It's a row of 4. And then it's a Harry Potter ride. So then Hermione does a spell and then it starts flying. So it's like you're on a broom, even though you're sitting in a seat. You're not straddling anything. You're just sitting in a seat. There's a thing that sticks out in front of you that you can hold to make you feel like you're on a broom, and it flies. So you feel like you're flying. So it's not really a roller coaster. And that one is really, really fun. And there's another one. It's Escape from Gringotts, which, if you know Harry Potter at all, which movie is it? It's one of the last movies where they escape from Gringotts and the dragon. They ride the dragon out. Well, it's like that, but you're in one of the cars and you're on the rails in the car inside of Gringotts, and then at the very end, the dragon, they hook it to your car and then the dragon flies out. It's pretty fun. That one's kind of like a roller coaster, but the cars actually turn sideways. Like you're in a train, but the cars will turn sideways at parts. So you can see scenes, and there's actually scenes inside the roller coaster where it stops. So it's a lot of fun too. And those were 2 rides that I couldn't ride the first time we went because I couldn't fit. And so now I can fit. So, but like I said, that one time I went back, I couldn't fit. And I was like, no, I had done so good and I could fit. Now I can't fit and I'm not happy. And there was another one. Oh, the Mummy roller coaster. I had always been able to fit in that one. And then they refurbished it. And the first time I rode it, I could ride it, but they must have made the seats smaller when they refurbished it. I don't know if someone got hurt on it or they just decided it needed to be snugger because the attendant or whatever they're called pushed the belt down, and I was fine, but it was super tight. And she goes, "Are you going to be okay like that for 2 minutes?" And I was like, "Yeah." She must have thought like I was cutting off my air or something. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be fine like this for 2 minutes." But it was tighter than what it had been previously. So they must have made the seats more snug. The Hogwarts Express is fun. Yeah, I like the shopping, but I like we rode Hagrid's motor ride adventure, whatever it's called. And I had watched it on YouTube, and I thought, "Oh, that one's not bad. That one's not going to be bad." So I wasn't even nervous in line. And I was like this through the whole thing. And they put me on the motorcycle part. It's a motorcycle with a sidecar. And I figured, because I didn't want to, get told, "Oh, you're too big to ride it," I thought, the motorcycle seat would be the bigger seat. So I got on that one. Well, to ride the motorcycle, the handlebars are way over here. So I'm like leaning like this. And I was like, I'm not riding a roller coaster leaning forward like this. This is not happening. So there's a lap bar. So I sat like this holding the lap bar. I didn't hold the handlebars. And I just sat there like this through the whole thing. And then at the end, everyone is going, "Woohoo," and clapping. And I'm just like this. But it was because I could see. Because I'm not used to seeing, like, I like Space Mountain, The Mummy's in the Dark, Rock and Roller Coaster at Disney Studios is in the dark. I don't like seeing what comes next. Oh, the Turtle Boy thing? Is it the Turtle Boy thing? I'm so confused about that thing. Inside the castle. Which castle? We got a lot of castles in Orlando. The Harry Potter? Or... Well, yeah, I guess that's the only castle we have a ride in. Is the Harry Potter one. The flying one I was just talking about? That's my favorite. Yeah. That's my favorite one. And I'm glad that's a dark ride, because if I saw that thing in the light, I would not ride it. Because those cars, those like four person cars, they're on a giant arm. And that arm actually takes the car up and over a wall and then back down to the next scene. So, like, those rides you see at like county fairs where they're on an arm and they go way up in the sky? I don't ride those. And that's kind of what this one does. You just can't see it because you're in the dark. The part I don't like is the part it tilts you back. You're not completely upside down, but you're tilted back. And that's the part I don't like. When it gets past that part, the part where you feel like you're flying, that's the part I like. The part where you're like tilted backward, that's during the scarier parts of the ride. Like when you see Aragog, when the spiders come out, and where the Whomping Willow almost hits you, and the scary parts is where you're laying back on your back. And because I guess you're supposed to feel like you're falling off your broom, I guess. So it's supposed to be scarier in those parts. So, and then on the Escape from Gringotts, when it first starts off, I think it's Bellatrix and Voldemort. They put a spell on your car, your mine car, whatever it is, and it's one of those roller coasters. I would never ride one of these roller coasters on a regular track where you could see everything. And I didn't know it did this the first time I rode this roller coaster. It tilts you like this and just hangs you there. And my stepdaughter and I, we get in the back seat because we don't want to be down here at the very bottom. And then one time I looked at her and I said, wait a minute. We're way up. We're in the air. We're way up in the air if we're in the back. She goes, I don't care. I don't want to be in the front. I'm like, okay. But after you sit like this for, it has to be a solid minute at least, because you're watching like a projection of Bellatrix and Voldemort tell you how horrible, evil, and awful you are. They're looking for something or somebody or a vault or something. I'm too terrified to know what they're talking about. That's the part I hate. I just want it to be over. But after you're hung like this for like a minute, it just goes whoosh. And that's my favorite part. That big drop. I love big drops. That's my favorite part. Judy, you're a mod. I will not ride Velocicoaster because many reasons. It doesn't have shoulder restraints and it goes upside down. And I don't want to feel like I'm going to fall out of my seat into the lagoon. That's not fun to me. And what else won't I ride? I've never ridden the Hulk roller coaster, although I kind of want to ride that. Because I like Rock and Roller Coaster over at Disney, and they're very similar rides. But Rock and Roller Coaster's in the dark. I want to ride Dr. Doom's Fearfall, which is like that ride that the kid died on. Only it doesn't do the thing where it puts you out and drops you face down. It's just, in fact, I think it goes up fast and comes down slow. Like it goes up fast and then it like bounces you down. But Tower of Terror at Disney does that. Oh, it takes you up slow. It took you up slow and it stopped, and because you're in an elevator. So it'd take you up, the elevator doors would open and you'd look at stuff. Then it would take you up again, it would open and you would look at stuff. Yeah, I think it went up twice and the doors open, and then it would take you up to the very top, the doors would open, and then the elevator actually would come out and go forward, and then you'd be on the outside of the building, and then it would just drop once. Then when they changed it, it dropped like 1.5 times, because it would go up, then drop down like halfway, up again, and then all the way down. Now they've changed it to where it's different every time you ride it. It just goes up and down and up and down and up and down. There's even one version where it'll go all the way to the bottom and shake and then go back up and then come down. So like you never know what you're going to get when you ride it now. I love that ride. But like I said, I like it better in the dark because you don't know what's coming next. I don't like it when I can see where I'm going. And my husband's the opposite. And my husband doesn't like anything that spins because he gets sick. I like the spinny rides. So, and I had given up on water parks because it hurts for me. Because it hurts my knees to climb. And when we went on our anniversary to a water park, I'm checking to see if there's, nope, it is black. No, it's not. Okay, I was going to say the feed is still up, but it's not. When we went to the water park, my knees actually held out, but it was like for the next 2 or 3 days, my calves hurt so bad from walking up and down the steps. The slide part was fine. It was the walking up and down the steps that were killing my legs. But yeah, we didn't take the girls because it was our anniversary. And usually when we go to water parks, we take the girls and then they do the slides with their dad. And then I play in the water or lay out in the sun or whatever. But because it was a anniversary trip, we didn't take them. So, and then of course he's worried about me. So we went to Typhoon Lagoon where they have that water roller coaster, and I had never done one of those before, and I was so scared, and I loved it. And so they have 3 different ones, and we did. I don't know if it's a soda or inhaling too much air while I talk. So they have 3 different ones, and we did like the easiest one first, and I loved it. And I'm claustrophobic, so I don't like enclosed tubes. And that was the most fun part, was being inside the whole tube. And he was like, I cannot believe that you liked that part after the whole time you kept saying you didn't like the enclosed tube. And I'm like, I know, but it was fun because I told you it goes so fast. I said, yeah, but if you're not claustrophobic, you just don't understand, honey. I'm like, he's like, but you go so fast, you don't even realize you're inside anything and you're out of it. So we did that. I'm like, let's go it's called the Crushing Gusher. And they have different names. There's 3 different names. One's pineapple something, one's banana something, and one's coconut something. I don't know, they're named after fruit. So we did 2 of them, and then I wanted to go do the other one, and he's like, no, you're not doing the other one. You're not climbing all those stairs again. I was like, but I can do it. He's like, no, we're done. You've done enough. Then on the way out, I happened to ask, I'm like, this is going to be a stupid question, I'm sure, but is there any way for somebody that's handicapped to get up to the top of the slides without climbing all the stairs? And he's like, oh yeah, there's a handicapped way to get up. I was like, I should have asked that on the way in, not the way out. I was like, oh. So every step I took for the next 3 days, I was like, why didn't I ask if there's a way up before? On the way in? Why did I wait to ask on the way out? My legs would not be hurting this bad. So next time. So, and I also, after that, I thought, well, maybe at Volcano Bay, they have a way for handicapped people too. So I looked it up, and they do. So the whole time we were at Volcano Bay, I didn't do the first slide because I didn't want to climb all those steps. Well, I didn't have to. So we're planning on going back there too sometime because I won't have to climb all the steps. Okay, well, I guess I will just keep an eye out for the amount because we know they're going to get something. I need to go through everything because you've sent me a lot, Judy. I need to go through everything and maybe do a video on it. I'm feeling better. I got a flu shot this year, and I don't get flu shots, and I think that's what saved me this time, I think, because my cold symptoms were super, super mild. Like, I still have the sniffles a little bit, but the other day when I had the chills and I was like under my jacket all, and you guys were like, go to bed, that was the worst it got. So I think that flu shot saved me from getting really sick. So, like I said, I still have a little bit of the sniffles, but other than that, I'm normal again. I was just still resting, and then I saw this, and I was like, oh, I gotta go stream this. Because I wanted to watch it with my family. Because this, like I said, this one hit close to home. Because, that could have been me. Seriously. That could have been me. And so, for it to be a 14-year-old kid, and that sounds bad to say it like that, but a good kid, I know that sounds horrible. But you guys know what I mean. Like, that kid was going to be something. Like his mom said, he was going to be like NFL. Like, he was going places. It's so sad. And the family that took him on spring break, can you imagine being that family? Like, can you imagine having to be the person that was responsible for your child calling that mom and they made their kid do it, apparently. Call and say something happened. Oh, man. So I'll keep an eye on it, and I'll let you guys know how much they were awarded, because I don't think they're going to come back. It might come back tonight, but I don't think it's going to come back anytime soon, because it's money and numbers and figures and all that kind of stuff. So, and Judy, I'm going to sit down and go through that stuff and maybe do a video on it, or might go over them on a live or something. But her next hearing is on the 12th, which is next Thursday, I think. And then on the 19th, the OnlyFans murder trial starts. And I don't know if that's jury selection or actual trial. So that's coming up. So, yeah, we still have a lot. Oh, I want to say one more thing. I typed it into the chat in Recovery Addicts chat. I don't know if anybody saw it. I have a thought about the sentencings that we have watched today. This week. For anybody that didn't watch Melody Ferris's sentencing today, or didn't watch her trial, Melody Ferris, this is not going to make sense to anybody that didn't watch her trial, but Melody Ferris killed her husband by shooting him and burning his body. And she blamed her son. Her sentencing was today. And she read a letter with all the evidence that she believed pointed to her son. Instead of being sincere and contrite and I'm sorry and please don't send me to jail for the rest of my life, whatever. No, she blamed everything on her son. I'm innocent. Please don't send me to jail for the rest of my life. And you guys saw Sarah Boone talking about broken pottery and crap and blaming everybody else under the guise of forgiving them. But you know who you didn't hear one single word from? The one person that didn't mean to kill her husband, that did it out of self-defense. In my opinion, I know that a lot of people disagree with me on that, but the person that did it, not meaning to kill them, but doing it in self-defense, did not say one single word. The two that did it out of spite, out of malice, They were the ones that sat up there and blamed somebody else. So I'm just saying, I feel like that vindicates my position that Ashley Benefield is innocent. That's just my opinion. Yeah, she did. She absolutely did. How dare I have a logical... How dare I have a logical opinion? Oh yeah, I did too. I think that whole thing is sad. And I still say, if all the custody crap had not happened, they would not have found her guilty. They would have found self-defense. I think they would have. Yeah, a lot of people were saying that. I don't know if she was or not, but she didn't look good. She did not look good. Okay, guys, I gotta go start dinner. My husband will be home in a few minutes. So I will see you guys on the 12th, if not before. And Christmas party is on the 14th, Saturday at 10 o'clock. Oh my gosh, was it ever? Somebody was like, Melody Ferris looked at Sarah Boone and said, "Hold my beer." Okay, bye guys. Love you all. See you later.